In this video, we're going to create an alpha channel for the leaf texture on our NURBS plane. Here in Maya, I've opened up the texture I want to use, and the first thing I've done is duplicate it by going to Image and choosing Duplicate. I need to make a black and white silhouette of the image on the left. That will serve as our alpha channel in Maya. I'm hitting W on the keyboard, and I'm going to choose my magic wand tool. I set the tolerance for 10, and I'll click on the white. I want that selection to be black. Hitting D on the keyboard, I can get the default black and white in Photoshop on the color swatches at the bottom of the toolbar. I can hit G on the keyboard and click inside to make it black. With the selection still there, I'll go to Select Inverse, and I'll make the leaf white. Now I can put the white on top, and if I were to go in and try to use the paint bucket though, you can see it only follows shape, so it wouldn't be a clean edit. I could get my brush, increase the size of my brush, and paint it in that way. I prefer to use the Option or the Alt-Delete to silhouette it out white. I'll deselect, and I'll be sure to save it as a JPEG. We can have a PSD for the texture itself, but when it comes to alpha channels or bump channels, it has to be a JPEG. In Maya, I'll create a NURBS plane. Holding down the spacebar, create NURBS primitive plane, and I'll drag a shape on my XZ axes. I'll right-click and choose Assign New Material, Arnold, AI Standard Surface. Following the Color tab out, I'll click on the checkerboard. In the Create Render node, I'll click on File, and next to Image Name, I'll click on the folder, and I'll introduce my leaf texture. The only limitation of the NURBS surface is that you would have to scale the geometry to get the texture the way you want it, whereas if we'd used the polyplane, we could have used a UV map. Once again, going to the standard surface, I'm going to go down to where it says Geometry. And when I open it up, there are two options, Opacity and Bump Map. I'll follow the opacity slider out to the checkerboard at the far right. And once again, in the Create Render node, I'll click on File. And then in Image Name, I'll click on the folder. And I'll introduce my alpha channel. I want to preview this, so I'm going to put a surface underneath to make sure that the geometry is transparent around the perimeter of the leaf. I'll create another NURBS plane. I've put a light in because unless I use the Arnold Render window, I won't see the transparency. So this is something that would appear only when you're done with your lighting. So I've gone in and set my light standards the way we did with Arnold. I've bumped the intensity to about 20, and I've made the cone angle about 100 plus, and this is just to preview the transparency. And then down under the Arnold tab, I made the exposure 3.25. Now if I were to go ahead and preview it through the Arnold Render, I still have the white background. When using the Arnold Render view, we have to introduce an alpha channel through the color node, but we also have to go to the settings for the geometry. Selecting the leaf, I'm going to go to NURBS Plane Shape 1, and I'm going to click off on Arnold Opaque. I'll return to the Arnold Render view, and now I've got my alpha channel.